all of our polling and all the national polling was showing that I hurt President Trump much worse. It was weird the Democrats were attacking me because I was helping them. Both President Biden and President Trump, when they ran the first time, both promised to release the document, and then they both got in there, and the CIA told them they couldn't do it. The real tell was what happened with the DTP vaccine, and nobody had made the connection that it's only the girls who got the vaccine who were dying of it. And those scientists started speaking up and saying, you got to discontinue this vaccine. Gates made sure their careers were destroyed. The most important thing is for all of our leaders to take a stand against censorship. Censorship is now spreading like a disease across Europe. This is where we're headed, and this is where the United States is headed.
Our guest has been a frontier warrior advocating for children's health and environmental issues for a very long time. He's vocally opposed corruption within our own government and called for an end to continuous wars. While this has won him public allies, it's also earned him powerful enemies, which he continues to rise above with incredible courage and a good attitude. Please welcome the founder of Children's Health Defense, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Come on in.
Dr. Doug.
So good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to be back with you.
Yeah. Well, it's so good to have you back. Hadn't seen you in a while.
No.
You've been pretty busy.
Yeah, I'm water under the bridge since the last time I was here with you.
Well, you know, August 23rd, 2024, of course, had to be a difficult day for Robert as he addressed the nation about partially suspending his campaign in key battleground states. And the culmination of his reason for running, the campaign's hard work, and the present realities all came into focus. Here's a look at a portion of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s national speech.
For 19 years, I prayed every morning that God would put me in a position to end this calamity. The chronic disease crisis was one of the primary reasons for my running for president, along with ending censorship in the Ukraine war. It's the reason I've made the heart-wrenching decision to suspend my campaign and to support President Trump. This decision is agonizing for me because of the difficulties it causes my wife and my children and my friends. But I have the certainty that this is what I've meant to do. And that certainty gives me internal peace, even in storms. If I'm given the chance to fix the chronic disease crisis and reform our food production, I promise that within 2 years, we will watch chronic disease burden lift dramatically. We will make Americans healthy again.
Amen. Well, I love making Americans healthy again. I'm a fitness guy like you. Like I want to see everyone healthy and have a good shot at life. But one of the things that impressed me, and I said, Joni, when he comes, I only have one question, and it was related to that. You said for 19 years you've been praying. People don't necessarily know you as the spiritual side of Robert, but you've had a spiritual awakening, and that has really helped you along the way. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Well, I've talked a lot about kind of on my journey, but first of all, I was raised in a very, very Catholic family. Mm-hmm. And I integrated that into my thought, into my soul. So I never had any bad experience with the Catholic Church. A lot of people did, but I didn't. Mine was all good. We prayed the rosary every day, sometimes on multiple occasions. We went to church almost every day. Well, in the summer, sometimes twice a day. And we prayed before and after meals. We prayed the rosary at night. We read the Bible every night. My dad read the Bible to me. So that was part of who I was growing up. But I was then a heroin addict for 14 years. And when you're living against conscience, which is a feature of addiction, you tend to push any notion of God over the periphery of your horizons. And so I never walked away from the faith, but it just wasn't part of my life. Mm-hmm. And then I got sober in September of 1983. I was 28 years old. And I had at that point a spiritual awakening. I had a friend. You want me to talk about this?
Yeah,
Love it.
How many people need to know this part of you?
Do it. Our audience loves hearing this.
So I knew, that the person I was going to take drugs again. And I knew I had to have some kind of profound spiritual realignment. And I didn't want to be out on the street sort of wanting drugs and white knuckling it and struggling with that. I wanted to be like a normal person who woke up every day and just never thought about it. And I knew that there had been people throughout history, because we read the lives of the saints, and many of the saints had that as part of their experience. St. Augustine had been a
womanizer.
He was living in a bordello until he was 30 years old. His mother, St. Monica, was praying for him every day, and finally, when he was 30, he had this spiritual realignment. St. Francis of Assisi had the same thing. And then, of course, St. Paul at Damascus had the same thing. And I had a personal friend. It was a friend of one of my brothers, a brother of mine, David, who died of this disease. And he had become a Moonie. He had become a follower of Reverend Sun Myung Moon, and he had joined the Unification Church. And he still hung out with us, but he didn't want to take drugs anymore. And he would talk about his stuff, his newfound life, but he didn't want to. He had the compulsion that he had had before was gone. And I used to think about him when I first was getting sober, and I would think, this was my twisted thinking at the time. I would say to myself, I'd rather be dead than be a Moonie, but I wish somehow I could distill whatever it was, whatever power it was that made him impervious to this compulsion without becoming like a religious nuisance. And I read a book at that point by Carl Jung, and Carl Jung was a contemporary of Freud's. He also, but unlike Freud, who was an avowed atheist, Jung was a deeply spiritual man. His father had been a preacher, a very interesting relationship with his father. His father had a dry faith. He was very good at uttering the palliatives and the contemporary or the sort of the consensual understanding of religion, but he never had an authentic spiritual experience, which Jung did starting when he was about 3 years old. And Jung wrote this book called Synchronicity, where he talks about these coincidences that happen in our daily lives. And, all of us have these things happen to us where you're maybe talking about somebody that you haven't thought about for 20 years, and all of a sudden the phone rings and that person's on the line. And Jung considered those interventions by God, who would break his own rule, defy the laws of percentages, defy the laws of chance, and come in and tap us on the shoulder and say that I'm here. He actually tells a story in this book of a patient. He ran the biggest sanitarium in Europe, in Zurich. He talks about a patient, a female patient, who was sitting on a couch talking to him about a dream she had. And in the dream, the fulcrum of the dream, the subject is a scarab beetle. And the scarab beetle is a very common piece of iconography that's on the hieroglyphics in Egypt and on the tombs and the obelisks. But they don't exist in Northern Europe. And he was in Zurich, and he hears this bing, bing, bing on the window behind him, and it irritates him, but he doesn't want to take his attention off the patient by seeing what it is. And ultimately, he stands up in exasperation. He throws the window open, and a scarab beetle flies in and lands in his palm. And he shows it to this woman, and he said, "Is this what you were dreaming about?" And those kind of things happen to him all the time.
So God gave you some kind of faith encounter.
Yeah, well, what happened to me, he says in that book, he says he tries then, he's not only a very deeply spiritual man, but he's also a faithful scientist. So he tries to use scientific tools. He tries to reproduce that experience in a clinical setting. And he puts one guy in one room and another guy in another room, and have them flip cards. And he tries to get them to guess what the other guy is flipping. And he thinks if he can beat the laws of mathematics of chance, that he will have proved the existence of a supernatural law, because he's beating natural law.
Yeah.
He never succeeds in doing it, and to his credit, he admits that in this book. What he says is, I can't prove using spiritual or using empirical tools and scientific tools the existence of a God. But having seen tens of thousands of patients come through his facility, he said, I can prove that people who believe in God get better faster and that their recovery is more durable and enduring. And for me, that was more impactful than if he said he had proved the existence of a God, which I wouldn't have believed.
At that point.
At that point,
Right.
with scientific tools, right? But what he was saying was, what I heard him saying is that it's irrelevant if there's God up there. If you believe in it, that your chance of recovery is going to be much greater. And I had already made a commitment to myself that I would do whatever I needed to do to improve my chance of recovery by even 1%. And what he says, and then I was faced, so I made an intellectual decision, I'm going to start believing in God. And then I'm faced with the dilemma that everybody who makes that commitment has, which is, how do you start believing in something that you can't see or smell or touch or taste or acquire with your senses? And Jung solves that problem, and he says, you fake it till you make it, you act as if, and that the compliance will precede the evidence. You will see the evidence, and it will be overwhelming.
I think the way we talk about that is we talk about, you turn your life and will over, or you surrender.
Yeah.
And Joni has a whole book on surrendering all. And when we surrender to God, he makes all things possible. And your life is like a whole testimony of like taking a drug addict and now you ran for president. Like, that's crazy stuff,
It's
right?
it's like a surrender of the heart and connecting to the one who created you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like we're like a computer not connected to the internet without God. I mean, it changes everything, your perspective, even divine insight and wisdom that he has, gifts and talents, abilities that he's put on the inside of us that we don't even know about, that when connected to him, he's able to use us. And it's like he puts his super to our natural, and things happen, like you said, that you can't understand, you can't explain. And of course,
I had this experience. I made a decision. Okay, I'm going to surrender. And the way that Jung, sort of recommends is that I started looking at my life and every day as every day involved about 40 decisions that I have to make, and that each one of them now for me had a moral dimension. So do I get out of bed when the alarm rings immediately, or do I stay in bed for another 20 minutes with my indolent thoughts? Do I make the bed? Do I hang up the towels? If I reach in the closet and pull out a pair of blue jeans and all of the wire hangers fall on the floor, do I go in there and clean them up? I unmess. Do I put the shopping cart where it's supposed to go? I do. And that is a way of continually surrendering, of staying in that posture of surrender all day, of continually asking myself, what is the next right thing to do? And behaving even when I don't have an audience. And so I made that commitment to do that. But then I had the day that I finished that book, and I was very moved by that book. And the day that I finished that book, I went out on a volleyball court, and somebody hit a volleyball on this very, a really powerful punch, and it came down and it landed on top of the goalpost. And I said out loud, so everybody heard me, I said, that ball is going to get hit by a Mack truck. And the ball bounced back up, and it went on kind of an errant flight, and then it landed on top of a chain link fence, rolled over the other side, and then it rolled about 60 or 80 feet down into a major thoroughfare, and a big diesel 18-wheeler with the bulldog on the hood came by and popped it with this resounding pop. And there was just a moment when everybody went and looked at me and said, how did you do that? And then the moment passed, but to me, I had just finished that book, and it was like, that was kind of my spiritual, it's kind of a poor man's spiritual awakening, but it was because I had just, like an hour before, finished that book, and it was like,
But when you open up your heart to God, He gives you gifts, and he's given you some spiritual gifts to see things about the healthcare. He's given you spiritual gifts to see things that need to be done, and you're about doing them. It's wonderful.
Well, we wanted to pull in the kids because the younger generation especially is very interested in your platform and hearing about some of the problems and issues that you want to solve. And I know you've seen that as you campaign, so we thought we'd bring the youngins in here. Rebecca and Jonathan, how do you like being called that? You are, but what are you, the generation what are you? And what question do you have?
We are millennials, Joni.
And I'm on the cusp.
But when you
of Gen
said
Z.
youngins, I was like, I don't know if I'm that young anymore.
No, we're kind of old now.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Millennial. Okay, what's your question, guys?
Yeah, so our question is, one of the things you talk about, Robert, is the importance of building bridges in a time where our nation is so divided. Can you speak more on how that is pivotal in this election season?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we have this extraordinary capacity as a country. We have terrible problems right now. We also have the capacity to solve them. We have a terrible food system, an agricultural system, but we have the best regenerative farmers in the world in our country. They're doing things that nobody else is doing. We have the worst health of any country in the world. We have the best integrative medicine doctors and functional medicine doctors and naturopaths and, all of these people who are doing extraordinary work to restore, to obliterate, or to end chronic disease. We have our business system and economic system is essentially in free fall, but we have the best entrepreneurs in the world. And that's just not me just saying that. Everybody in the world agrees that this is the hotbed for entrepreneurial activity. So we can solve all these issues, but there's no way we can solve them when we're all tearing each other apart, when we're all hating on each other. When Abraham Lincoln said, a house divided cannot stand. And if we can figure out a way to stop the vitriol and stop the anger and the polarization, the demonization and the name calling, and start identifying the values that we all have in common as Americans, rather than focusing on those little issues that keep us apart, we can solve any of these problems.
That's good. And so we wanted to try to get to all these questions because you and I have questions too. So Josh, you have a question for Robert.
Robert, thank you so much for shedding light on what's happening in the health scene. You helped rid the oceans and the rivers of toxins that are getting in our kids and in our lives. And then also taking a step further and doing that for what we're injecting into ourselves that we're told by the government to do so. So thank you so much. And I know that I speak on behalf of millions of people for that. But President Trump recently said that he would release all the documentation regarding presidential assassinations. Now, a lot of us, I grew up in Australia, I learned all about your family. This hits really close to home for you because your father, Attorney General, was assassinated, and your uncle, JFK, President of America, was assassinated as well. Question is, what do you think this will happen, the documents will be released, and what do you think the result of that will be?
I think I'm quite sure that President Trump is going to release the documents. I've talked to him at length about this. He had both President Biden and President Trump, when they ran the first time, both promised to release the document, and then they both got in there, and the CIA told them they're not going to do it, even though the law requires them to do it by 2018. And so, what do those documents say? I think it's clear that all of the people who are involved in my uncle's assassination are dead now. Many of them made confessions, but they're all gone. So this isn't about protecting any individual. It's about institutional protection. And I think the CIA is worried about it. In the last tranche of documents, we've known for many, many years that Lee Harvey Oswald was a CIA asset, that he was working for the CIA, that his defection in 1959 to the Soviet, or 58 to the Soviet Union was a false defection, that he was working for the agency at that point, and that he was brought home and cared for the agency when he was brought back to New Orleans and Dallas right before my uncle's death. This is something that was not known to the Warren Commission. It was kept away from them. It was kept away from the Church Committee, which, in the 1970s. And but it would have been of great interest to the American public at that time. And I think that more evidence of that kind is probably in those documents, but I can only speculate what it is.
So do you think that they will be allowed to be viewed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if President Trump gets elected, he is going to, he's told me, he's also told me the reasons that he didn't release them the last time. And he said he received these urgent pleas from Mike Pompeo to not release them, even though he had promised to, and that's what caused him to change his decision.
Okay, that will be interesting.
Mike Pompeo was the head of the CIA.
This is one of the reasons, and we can get into this later, but why the Democrats have continually sued you. You're still in lawsuits that they have brought against you across many states, and they don't want these government agencies to be, if you will, found out, and that those documents will show some of that, and I'm sure they're afraid of that. So we were talking the other day, I said, now, if Robert joins with Trump and helps, I don't know, we should put him over the FDA, the CIA.
My suggestion was you move him. Give him a year here, and a year here, and just get it done.
So, we could talk forever about all of that, but I know that's one of the reasons they've come against you so greatly, and it's just bizarre to me. But anyway, Jonathan Weiss, what is your question for Robert?
Well, yeah, speaking of your uncle and your father, they cared so deeply about America being a pillar of democracy to the world. How do we get back to that this day and age?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing to do is for all of our leaders to take a stand against censorship. And, censorship is now spreading like a disease across Europe, France. This week, France had as robust a commitment to free speech as we have in our country. During the French Revolution in 1789, they actually passed all these laws that are still on the book that made France the kind of global, or the European Center for Free Speech. And then in the 1880s, they passed even more. They value it as much as us, and yet it's completely collapsed now. And last week, Pablo Durov, the head of Telegram, which is, a platform, was arrested. He was pulled off an airplane when he stopped to refuel in France, probably at U.S. urging. And then,
He's imprisoned right now.
He's in prison right now. And then you had this other strange thing happen where a guy called Thierry Breton, who's the head of the chief commissioner of the European Commission, told Elon Musk that he would face prosecution if he interviewed President Trump live on X. Oh, this is a former president of the United States. He's the nominee of one of the two political parties. And the Europeans are saying that it's dangerous and that it's a criminal for people to air an interview with him. So this is where we're headed, and this is where the United States is headed.
Well, you've experienced censorship. Everyone censored you here. They didn't even let you into the Democratic debate system. They didn't let you into a lot of the networks didn't allow you on. You have experienced censorship persecution in America.
Yeah, and in fact, I've won a lawsuit, against President Biden. And the federal Judge Terry Doty last week renewed my injunction against the White House for censoring me. I'm still being censored on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram.
But not Daystar.
Instead of not Daystar. But this was always, this was always the refuge. This was the fortress here on Daystar. This is the only place I could go on TV and talk about this during COVID.
And I just want to say, all of you viewers from around the world that you have written, and I've shared some of those with Robert, but that you were able to use protocols when COVID came through, like hydroxychloroquine, like ivermectin, like vitamin D, vitamin C, those things that were denied to many people and called, a drug you shouldn't use, and it was, a drug that was used for horses, et cetera, et cetera. because you came on along with Dr. Peter McCullough and Dr. Pierre Corey and Dr. Simone Gold and all of our friends, right? We were able to help people around the world.
Millions.
And why in the world would that information have been censored? Why are these these good doctors losing their license for speaking the truth concerning what was really going on during COVID?
Yeah, I mean, you were amazing. You were really amazing because nobody else would talk about this. And I felt almost nervous coming on here and actually talk because I thought I was going to hurt you. And they did come after you. You were so courageous, and Marcus was so good to me, and just you were fearless, and it was great. And interestingly, the FDA chief counsel this week made a concession because the FDA just lost a big case to one of the doctors who was being punished and delicensed. And he made a statement this week that it was a big mistake to their campaign against ivermectin, that they should never have done it. So, all of these conspiracy theories that, we all had, they become true ultimately.
Well, and that's another whole show, of damaged people that we have around the world as a result of mRNA technology. And that's another whole show. Rachel, this is the last question from the kiddos.
Robert, your decision to suspend your presidential campaign was deeply moving, especially your statement where you said we must love our children more than we hate each other. That resonated with so many of us. It literally brought me to tears. Was the future of our children a driving force behind your decision to step back? And how do you see this love guiding the actions we take as a nation moving forward?
I'd say there were, I said in my talk, I explained why I made this extraordinary decision to join President Trump because of 3 issues. And I had a series of meetings with him, and where he convinced me that he was absolutely committed to these issues. One was to end the censorship. The other is to immediately end the Ukraine war, which is destroying Ukraine. 600,000 Ukrainian kids have died, hundreds of thousands of Russians, in a war that was completely unnecessary, that should have been settled immediately. And then the most important issue is restoring children's health. When my uncle was president, 6% of American kids had chronic disease, and today 60% do. 77% of our kids are not eligible for military service because they're so sick. The expenditures, the national expenditures on chronic disease when my uncle was president, zero. Today, it's 95% of our healthcare budget. It's $4.3 trillion a year. It's 5 times our military budget. And our kids are so sick. They all have autoimmune disease. It's hard to find an undamaged kid now. They have allergies, food allergies, peanut allergies, eczema, all these things that we never heard of, that I never heard of as a kid. And I had 11 siblings, 70 cousins. I never heard of any of these diseases. Then neurological diseases, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, autism. Autism rates have gone from on in about between 1,500 and 1 in 10,000 when I was a kid, depending on what studies that you look at, to 1 in every 34 kids today. And in California, it's 1 in every 22 children. So, we have absolutely devastated this, and that's just one injury. And then you look at diabetes. When I was a kid, and these are part of the autoimmune diseases, like rheumatoid arthritis, juvenile diabetes. When I was a kid, a typical pediatrician would see 1 case of diabetes in a 40 or 50-year career. 1 case. Today, 1 out of every 3 children who walk through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. And, and we're seeing this just explosion of mitochondrial dysfunction, which is what diabetes is, including Alzheimer's is now regarded as type 3 diabetes because it's about mitochondrial dysfunction. It's because we're being mass poisoned by ultra-processed foods.
And of course, I know, being an environmental attorney, that you're about clean water, clean air, and there was a woman that would not leave you alone concerning her son, I think, that was damaged, and she actually won a lawsuit. And that kind of opened your world where You didn't really maybe want to be involved in this, but you couldn't deny the evidence of what you saw. Talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
I mean, I got dragged kicking and screaming. What happened was I ran the biggest water protection group in the world, and we had 370 water keepers, each with patrol boats, who were patrolling waterways and then suing polluters. And about 40 of them were suing over mercury. The FDA published a study in 2003, along with the National Academy of Sciences, showing that every freshwater fish in North America had dangerous levels of mercury in its flesh, mainly coming from coal-burning power plants, precipitation. And so we were litigating against coal-burning power plants and cement kilns. I had about 40 cases on behalf of different water keepers. And I was lecturing around the country, and these women started showing up at every speech that I gave. And they were different groups, but they always would sit in the front row. They were always well-dressed. And they would come early, and then they would talk to me afterward. And they would, it turned out they were all the mothers of intellectually disabled kids, and they all believed that their children had been injured by vaccines. And it was an issue I didn't want to get into. I didn't want to get distracted from clean water. And then one of them, a psychologist from Minnesota named Sarah Bridges, her son Porter, a completely normal kid, exceeded all milestones, and he got a battery of vaccines, and he became severely disabled. He was non-toilet trained, non-verbal, head banging, all the stereotypical features of autism. She won $20 million in the vaccine court. So the vaccine court had agreed her child got autism from the vaccine. And she came to my home and found my home in Hyannisport, my summer cottage. And she came with a pile of studies that was 18 inches deep. And she said, and she put them on my front porch. She introduced herself and she said, I'm not going to leave here till you read these. And I started reading. I actually went off sailing with one of my brothers, and when I came back, she was still there. I sat down and I read the abstracts from these studies, and by the time I was 3 inches down on that pile, I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. And I had all these women who were telling me the same story, and I was like, how can I not at least believe, we're supposed to believe women, right? Mm-hmm. And these were mothers who knew what happened to their kids. And they were all being ridiculed and marginalized and demonized by the medical community. And they were like, no, I know what happened, and I'm going to fight for my child and for all the other kids to prevent it. And though they kind of dragooned me into this battle that ruined my career, it kind of ruined my life, my relationships. But anyway, it's what God wanted me to do.
Mm-hmm. It is what God wanted you to do. So to answer Rachel's question, that burning desire to help our children would have fueled you to make the decision that you made to join with Trump. Because did you try to look at the Democratic platform or talk to anyone within that camp like you did with President Trump to see if there was room for truth concerning some of these? Like what happened with that? And did the Republicans sue you like the Democrats did? Because again,
two separate questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a short answer. Yeah, I reached out to Vice President Harris and asked if I could talk to her, and the answer was no. So, that was, and I reached out to her through many, many vectors with people who were close to her, et cetera. The Republicans never sued me, which was weird because all of our polling and all the national polling was showing that I hurt President Trump much worse. About 57 to 60% of the people supporting me said that if I left the race, they would vote for President Trump. And so it was weird that Democrats were attacking me because I was helping them. And today, the irony of it is that the Democrats have been suing me in every state to stop me. I'm testifying in court in New York this week to stay on the ballot in New York. Some states were saying we're trying to take ourselves off the ballot in the swing states, about 11 or 12 swing states. The Democrats are now suing me in all those states to keep me on the ballot. So they literally pivoted overnight. I'm getting sued in North Carolina. It's really quite
So you're sued if you do and you're sued if you don't.
That is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. So let's talk a little bit about international, what's going on internationally. You mentioned the war in Ukraine. This is something that's near and dear to the hearts of many of our viewers, especially those that watch in those areas, and also touch on what happened in Afghanistan under the Biden administration.
I mean, the Ukraine war is a war that should never have happened. And by the way, my son Connor went over to Ukraine and fought over there, and he fought in the Kharkiv offensive because, you know, he looked at Putin as a bully who had invaded this country. The war really was about security. It wasn't about territory for the Russians. And what they, you know, the Russians for 30 years, since 1992, have been saying you cannot put NATO in Ukraine because the Russians been invaded three times through Ukraine. The last time when Hitler invaded them, he killed 1 out of every 7 Russians. So they have a legitimate security concern. Also, we walked away from, in the last 6 years, from 2 nuclear weapons missile treaties, 2 intermediate nuclear treaties that prevented us, prior to that, from putting missiles in Europe that could hit Moscow. So then we you know, let me go back a little. In 1992, when the Soviets disbanded the Soviet Union, when Gorbachev disbanded it, he allowed us to unite Germany under East and West Germany under a NATO army. They moved out the Russian army, the Red Army, 450,000 troops. But the one promise he extracted, he said, you have to promise me that you will not move NATO to the east. James Baker, President Bush, John Major, all said in England, all said we will not move it 1 inch to the east, famously. And since then, we've moved it 1,000 miles to the east and into 14 countries. And the one thing they said is you can't put it in Ukraine. And that's what precipitated this war. We went in there in 2014. We overthrew the government, the elected government of Ukraine, put in a government that would invite NATO in, and the Russians responded. And the Russians asked for a peace treaty. We negotiated one. France, Germany negotiated the Minsk Accords. And then we double-crossed the Russians and wouldn't sign it. And then in April of 2022, Zelensky negotiated another agreement and initialed it with Putin. And Putin was withdrawing his troops. And President Biden sent Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister of England, to Kiev to force Zelensky to tear up that agreement. And since then, 600,000 kids have died. And if that agreement if they just left it alone, Donbass and Lugansk would still be part of Ukraine and all of those mineral wealth, and, you know, and we wanted the war. And, you know, we've spent $200 billion, which, by the way, we need in this country. You know, we've got a lot of desperate people in this country now. And we can't afford to be engaged in wars that are this close to nuclear engagement.
And so Trump is going to work on that with you. I mean, that was one of the things that you united on, right?
But he said from the beginning, I'll settle this. Whatever you say about President Trump, he's a real estate guy, and he'd rather do a deal than have a war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, and the Russia, I mean, it's harder now to do a good deal because the Russians have made a profound sacrifice, and they're, you know, and now Putin said from the beginning, I'm scared they're going to use Ukraine to attack Russia. So now Zelensky has confirmed that by sending a NATO-supported invasion of Russia in Kursk. And everything the Russians were saying about this from the beginning has turned out to be true. And so, you know, we need to settle that war, and we need to start building a community and a society.
The Afghan withdrawal. Your thoughts on that?
the Afghan withdrawal was a horrible calamity because it could have been done correctly. We should have taken the troops out of Afghanistan. You could do that in a way that was, it was politically driven by a date that was impossible for the army to comply with, for the military to comply with. And as a result of that, you had, I think, 37 military personnel were, lost their lives. And none of that should have happened.
And all the equipment that was left behind.
Oh, yeah, we left an entire army of equipment which is now being used against us.
Wow, wow. Let's talk about restoring the middle class. I know our viewers are interested in hearing about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the big issues for the middle class is inflation and the capacity to own a home. If Americans can't buy a home, we lose the middle class in our country. Because when you own a home, it not only, you care about your community, you care about your police, your firefighters, your education, you go to the PTA meetings, you care about your neighbors, about appearance, but more importantly, you have equity. You have access to equity, because you can take a second mortgage. So if you have an entrepreneurial impulse, if you want to build a sporting goods store or a yoga studio or a bowling alley or a saloon, you have the access to do that. And that's when, when we got all the Americans in a home with the GI Bill after World War II, that created the American middle class. And it as the greatest economic engine in the history of mankind. When I was a boy, America owned half the wealth on the face of the earth. And we were, we were making things because you had all these entrepreneurs, building stuff. And now that's gone. And, we have, for the first time, we have a generation of kids. I have 7 kids. One of them is 40, and he has a home. The other ones all went to the best colleges. They went to they have great jobs. And none of them can afford a home. And so the homes are all being built, bought, purchased by BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, these giant hedge funds that are coming in that already own 88% of the S&P 500. So they own all the business. And now they're coming in and trying to, turn us into a feudal aristocracy where the rich own the land and you can't have a middle class.
So let's talk about these names and tell me, what do you think about when I say Bill Gates, George Soros, and some of the other elite?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Gates and Soros, and I know most about Gates, because I've written a book about him, and that what he calls philanthrocapitalism, which is you use philanthropy to make yourself rich, and you use it strategically, and that's what he's done again and again. He's gotten control of the World Health Organization so that they mandate vaccines all over the world, and the companies that make those vaccines are Gates is, in many of them, the major shareholder. And he did the same thing with the Green Revolution. He got a hold of the regulatory agencies in African countries and forced them to to change the nature of agriculture. There's 20,000 generations of agriculture of people growing crops like sorghum and plantains and yucca and all these plants for subsistence. And he said, no, we're going to transfer them all to these, GMO monocultures of corn, and then we're going to bring in companies that he owns, Kraft, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, these big food companies, processing companies, to buy that, and that's going to be the deal. And then, of course, during COVID, all of that shut down, and you had, there's 30 million Africans now as a direct result of Gates' policy who are now on the edge of starvation.
Tell that story that you shared with me a couple of years ago about the vaccines that Gates sent over supposedly for women that, I don't know, was to control birth control or what?
Yeah, exactly. That's another, I think the real tell was what happened with the DTP vaccine, which is diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. Because of Gates pushing this shot, it's now the #1 vaccine in the world, DTP. and it's mainly given in Africa. It was that particular shot is discontinued in the United States because it was killing or badly injuring 1 out of every 300 kids who took it. We ended it in Europe and the United States, but Gates is giving it to every kid in Africa. And in 2017, he asked the Danish government for money to support this program, and it said, we've saved 20 million kids. The Danish government said, can you show us the data? He couldn't. So the Danish government went and did its own study, and they had records of 30 years of this vaccine in a country called Guinea-Bissau. And they looked at the records, and what they realized in retrospect, which they were never seeing, is that the girls who were getting that vaccine at 6 months of age were 10 times more likely to die over the next 6 months as children who didn't get it. Wow. And they were dying of things that nobody on the ground had ever associated with vaccination. They were dying of anemia and bilharzia and malaria and dysentery and nobody had made the connection that it's only the girls who got the vaccine who were dying of those things, that the other kids were much healthier. And the Danish government had retained the greatest vaccine scientists. All of them were pro-vaccine. A guy called Peter Aaby, who's like a deity in that space, and another guy called Sigrid Morgensen. And a whole team of scientists knew that, and those scientists started speaking up and saying, you got to discontinue this vaccine, and their careers, Gates made sure their careers were destroyed. So that's when I understood that he actually understands what he's doing. And this is not just him being hypnotized. He knows that this is wrong because this science was indisputable. And it really made me wonder about what his motivations are.
That's sad. There's so much going on, big things going on in the world, but there's also the things that are going on in your world, your relationships, your finances, your prodigal, your marriage, your situation. And we want to pray for you. That number, 1-800-329-0029 is on the screen. But some of you, we talk about God, and you're like, I'm really interested in that, but I've never really turn my life over to God. I don't even know how to do that. Well, it's not hard to turn your life over to God. You can just say a simple prayer like this. Say, Jesus, forgive me of my sins.
My sins.
I want to come home.
I want to come home.
Fill me with your Spirit.
Fill me with your Spirit.
If you'll say that prayer, He's heard you, and we want to get something to you right now. It's called the Gospel of John, and there's a QR code. Dr. Gene explains the scripture to you so you can understand that, and a little booklet called Now What, so that you can walk out your Christian faith. And we've been talking about a lot of really big things, but you can call that number on your screen. We want to get that to you right away. And another thing that you can do, as a Christian, 20 million Christians did not vote in the last presidential election. I don't want you to be one of them. We have a QR code. I want you to keep this up for a moment. Take a picture of this and send it to everyone on your phone, and make sure that they're registered to vote. We are the largest bloc, and we can make a difference. You decide, but you need to be registered to do that. So we think that's really, really important. Since you're here, I just want to highlight, you got to vote, because if you don't vote, nothing else changes.
It's so important. It's so important. And I want to ask our audience just around the world to pray for Robert and pray for God to give him wisdom and direction as he tackles all of these issues that have cost him a lot. But, at the end of the day, the Bible talks about when we're obedient to what God has called us to do, we're really building up treasures in heaven. And all this is going to pass away eventually. We know that. But that's what you're doing. I mean, you're getting some treasures up there, but you got some heat down here. And I've told you, because I've texted you and said, we're praying for your safety. And for God's
for your marriage, your family.
Yeah, and for your wife Cheryl, pray for her as well, and your family, and just that God will continue to give you courage. I know so many of you love Robert, and you're praying for him. And just call or write, let us know. I'll pass those on to him. I know that'll be a great blessing to him. But we've only got a minute left. Just quickly take 30 seconds to encourage people that are watching Robert.
I hope you'll come to the polls and vote in November. We need to change what's happening in this country. We need our country to restore our moral authority around the world and our prosperity back here at home.
Amen. Well,
All right.
we definitely heard you. Many of you have called in and your prayer requests. I'm just going to pray for you right now. Lord Jesus, we thank you for everyone who's called, everyone who's heard today's show, that you will bless their needs or situations, that you'll do that synchronistic thing and show off that you're the living God so that they can say, wow, that could not have been done except there is a God. Father God, we bless you. We thank you for so much that you're doing around the world in Jesus' name.